Psychonauts in the Rhombus of Ruin is a VR game based on the Psychonauts world, taking place somewhere between the original Psychonauts and the upcoming Psychonauts 2. So story-wise, while it is a literal sequel to Psychonauts, but because of the actual story and also presentation, it ends up feeling more like a teaser for what is to come, while also cleaning up some loose ends, and also serves as a reminder and catch up of what these characters are up to, given the original Psychonauts ended in a cliffhanger about 15 years ago. That cliffhanger being, and here slight spoilers for Psychonauts, was that Lily's dad had been kidnapped and her, Raz, and the teachers go on to find him. And that's what this game revolves around. And it's fine, it feels like it was very much made for the fans, since there isn't much character development, or at least character development that makes sense if you haven't played the original game. But if you are a fan, I think there is much to enjoy here. Story-wise, characters are very much like they were in the original Psychonauts, and just as funny. If like me you've been itching for a while for more Psychonauts content, then this is bound to keep you up and hopeful for the true sequel coming up. If you're not a fan though, I'll probably skip this one, or maybe go play the original Psychonauts, and if you like that for its story and characters, then come play this one. Now, I said story and not gameplay for obvious reasons. This isn't much like a Psychonauts game at all. While VR platformers are a thing, this is not the route Double Fine took here, taking the opportunity here to go for something more on the level of putting you in the shoes of Raz and his psychic powers. So this is a first-person puzzle game, and it plays a lot like an early VR game, given you don't really have hands and your head does most of the work, and you have no free movement. But they actually made this limitation work in an interesting way, as you'll be for the most part hopping between people or creatures' consciousness, where you can look around but can't control what they do, having to use your psychic powers to solve the puzzles in each area. For example, only one character might have sight of an important control panel you need to turn something on. These are for the most part very simple, and the powers are simple as well, mostly giving you the ability to, well, of course, click things, but also hit something or even pick something up. The quality of the puzzles ranges from being good but simple to being honestly bad and annoying, in my personal opinion. One of them is just stuck in my head as being a really big sliding puzzle, where you just have to push the pieces around with your head, and it's just really tedious and long. But the one thing that pushes you along these puzzles, besides the characters and the writing, is the visuals. Psychonauts is, in my opinion, one of the most unique looking platformers, taking place in large part inside people's minds, and also having a very endearing art style, even when in the real world, so to say. But Rhombus of Ruin takes the opportunity of it being both a puzzle and a VR game to give you more of a look into other characters' perspective of the world, that playing into the puzzles, and when they do that, I think it's when the game is at its best, but unfortunately it only happens a handful of time, partly just because of the length of the game, being well under 3 hours. But it's also important to remind that this came out at a time where VR games were short, because VR was still very rudimentary in a lot of ways, including having a tendency to make people sick. On a more technical level, the visuals are good, obviously. It's not the most technically impressive game, but again, the art style that I happen to personally really like does look really nice here, even if it's not as impressive as some of the gameplay footage we've seen for the actual sequel. Overall, Psychonauts in Rhombus of Ruin is an alright game for the fans of the Psychonauts world, but that's about it. If you're not a fan of this franchise, then this is not the one to start with, and even if you are a Psychonauts fan, it is hard to recommend if you don't already have a VR headset. This is not a system seller as you might imagine. Regardless, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. Now, do I recommend getting this 2 and something hour game for the going price of $20? Well, not really. The game, much like other Double Fines games, goes on sale on Steam often and for very cheap, so I would wait for a sale for sure to make the commitment to get it. Of course, assuming you already have a VR headset. But regardless, it's still a nice tie over and I cannot wait for the real deal Psychonauts 2, hopefully this year. Anyways, thank you for watching and please consider subscribing. Bye.